What up? What up? What up, world? We are back. I hope you can hear me. We're here. It's just me tonight. Dustin and Frank will miss you, but we're heading into week one, man. I'm really, really excited. Um, we got some football, man, here on Thursday, so pretty excited about that. Today we're just going to kind of talk about a couple things as we tighten up our rosters heading into week one. On Wednesday we'll definitely get into some sit starts and start previewing the games. But tonight we're just gonna talk about some league winners, man. Just guys that I'm, kind of looking at that could potentially be winners here for the league. Maybe bring you home a championship. So gonna be pretty excited about that. We'll go through some of the injuries, some guys here I had, some discussions here, but we'll kind of, get through them here by myself. Um, so without any further ado, as I like to say, let's get into it. So, first order of business, I'm sure we all saw the Mark Andrews news. Signs 4 years, $56 million extension for a tight end, 14 million a year. All the injuries there. They obviously know he is the number one target. So that's the guy that we have, man. I have him on a couple leagues. I definitely have him in some best ball. Um, I'm excited to see, what he can do. Um, you know, we kind of consider it a down year last year with only 88 targets. I think just over 700 yards and only 7 touchdowns. The previous year um, is why he was kind of being drafted that high. Had almost 98 targets, closer to 800 yards, 10 touchdowns, which was the biggest thing. So I think we're all hoping he kind of gets back to that. So we'll see what happens there. As far as let's see. As far as the injuries go, the big news today is the Justice Hill injury. Obviously I'm sure we all heard now he's torn his Achilles. So that they're now working out Lev Bell and Devonta Freeman. So, we'll see how that goes. Um, I think that Taysom Williams is a nice play now with just the two of them there. I don't know if any of those guys are really going to come in and contribute. I think it's going to be more, just kind of a backup role. But I think this kind of shoots, Gus Edwards definitely up the ladder, up the rankings. If you drafted him late, that was a huge pickup. But that's what happens when you draft handcuffs. That's the whole point is if that guy goes down, you're kind of assuming that that guy's going to turn into a lead role, especially if it's a running back by committee type, background. So, is what it is. Let's see. We got Ryan in here. Who do you think won this trade? I traded DK Metcalf and Kenny Galladay for Justin Jefferson and Bobby Trees. Um, I would definitely take the Justin Jefferson and Bobby Trees side of that, Ryan. So good trade. You got my thumbs up and approval on that one. I think that's definitely a good trade there. So nice trade, man. I don't think that's a bad trade at all. What up, them boys? I know, man. I'm solo tonight. These guys backed out on me, but it's all right, man. They'll be back. We got a long season ahead of us. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So this is why it's the three of us. I hold it down when they can't be here. They hold it down when I can't be here. So it's all love. But at least I didn't block them, man. Still kind of messed up with that, man. I can't believe they blocked me from being able to comment. So appreciate your comments out there. So anyway, before we get any more injuries, I do want to take a minute here and of course let you guys know about our underdogfantasy.com. We are partnered with them. If you haven't heard or seen, check out underdogfantasy.com. Sign up, use the promo code get right and make your first deposit. You'll get 25 extra dollars. Get in there, get some best ball drafts in there. They're also going to have pick 'em. You can do over unders on yardage, fantasy points. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We'll be doing videos, throughout the year on that as well. Getting you ready. So it's a lot of fun. Underdog Fantasy promo code Get Right. So take a look at that there. Now that we got that out of the way, it's crazy kind of running the program solo here. So hopefully I'm doing a good job here. JJ and Bobby for sure. So Dim Boys agrees with you, Ryan, there. So definitely definitely a good trade. All right, so I'm not going to get too much more into injuries. I'm sure we all know them all, but just in case, just to kind of run through them here, Noah Fant looks like he's ready to play. He had that knee injury he has going on. When is he not hurt, really? Right. So at least he's looking like he's going to be ready to go for week one. Him and Teddy Bridgewater. CH looks like he's going to be playing. He injured that ankle in that second preseason game. So it looks like he's on track to play. Brandon Ayuk with the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go. Looks like his hamstrings coming together and he's on track to play week one. Kind of within that same realm on the Niners. Trey Lance, his little broken finger or whatever he's dealing with. He got that splint off today. He's still not throwing. So he may miss a game or two here. So just kind of keep an eye on that as Jimmy G gets them rolling. We have a Curtis Samuel sighting. He's been dealing with that groin. He's missed kind of all preseason. We haven't really seen him in that new offense with Fitzmagic, and opposite of, you know, Scary Terry over there. So we'll see how those two look together on the field. That offense could be explosive with and Antonio Gibson, who we'll talk about a little later here. A little hint on our league winners. So we'll see how that goes. Stefan Diggs looked like he's good with his little knee injury he was kind of dealing with. He'll be ready to go for week one. It hasn't really stopped us from drafting him where he's been going. Looks like Dak's all green lights and good to go with that whole shoulder situation. Obviously, the ankle missing all but 5 games last year. We'll discuss more of that when we preview the game on Wednesday. And then kind of a big thing here with Saquon. Looks like he's going to be ready for week one. Doesn't look like, he's going to have too much, of a workhorse role. It looks like they're kind of predicting more like 10 to 15 carries, just to kind of get him acclimated, get him back in there. So we'll see, how that goes. Obviously his draft kind of, capital kind of started, falling back. Maybe you got him in the second round. I know he fell to me at the 10 spot. I couldn't let him go there. I was going to grab Kelsey, but it was in my keeper league. So I paired him up with Aaron Jones, who I have in the 6th. So I couldn't pass that up. Just keep your eyes out on Devontae Booker. So, he may get those other touches. We'll see kind of how that Giants offense looks. They don't have that great of a line. Shout out to Mike over there. He'll tell you all about it, but, is what it is. Let's see here. Yeah, my Niners going to blow out the Lions. What's up, Ryan? That's what's up, man. We should be able to destroy them. I'm looking forward to that. So shout out to Moster, who we'll talk about a little later again here too. Season, what's up, brother? Smooth, yeah. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Nah, man, it's tough to do a solo show. Definitely shout out to Frank and Dustin, man. They held it down when I wasn't here. There's nothing better than coming out here, man, and being able to talk some fantasy football. Who knows? Maybe one of those guys will jump in a little bit later. As you guys have seen, I try to jump in when I can. But for the most part, I'll get you guys through tonight's episode, and then we'll really get at it on Wednesday and start talking football, man. So let's see here. Any news on the Saquon Barkley status? Yeah, so we kind of just went through that there with his ACL and MCL. Like I said, it looks like he's getting ready to roll him out. Looks like he'll be playing, but it is definitely going to be a limited role. They're not going to come out and give him 20, 30 touches right out of the gate. but hopefully he can, get himself back into that form over the beginning of the season. If you drafted Saquon, you're in it for the playoffs, side of it. If anything, you want to hear that they're taking it slow with him. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of that. One other thing I kind of want to talk about as far as injuries go, just because we're kind of talking about it, is this old Deandre Swift. I know in our sleeper episode, we've been, it's all good, man. Um, I uh I know we've been talking about DeAndre Swift in our sleeper channel. If you haven't been in that, leave us a comment. We can get you in the community. We have all of our discussions there throughout the day. DeAndre Swift is definitely a topic there. They're saying he's still recovering from this groin. He suffered that groin on the 2nd of August, and they're saying that he may not be that effective here in week one if he may play. They're saying his conditioning is a concern. And, there's obviously a good chance of re aggravating that groin if he tries to come out and push it hard. Obviously, Jamal Williams is there. I'm sure a lot of people drafted him. And, you know, we'll see kind of what his role may be. I was kind of diving into his stats before we jumped on here. Jamal Williams hasn't really done anything too great. He was definitely a thorn in my side as a Aaron Jones owner last year. Just kind of coming in, definitely in that 2 minute role. So I definitely think he'll have a role here, especially early on. But if we all think Swift is what we think he is, if I said that properly, I think by the end of the year he can, win that every down role and be somebody that can, you know, kind of boost your lineup and kind of pay off. Especially since he's been falling in the draft. If you did have to reach for him, it might be a little tough, but hopefully you got some good value on him, and he could be a potential league winner for you. Um, so yeah, so DeAndre Swift, just keep an eye on that. If you are an owner, maybe you can snag Williams, maybe get him in a trade if he didn't get drafted. But just keep an eye out on him there. Let's see. Said I had second pick and took Dalvin Cook. So yeah, that's actually one of our questions we're going to get into a little later today. So stay tuned on that, and I'll definitely give you my opinion on that one. Can't go work there yet. So Cook is a stud, and he definitely is. He's one of those top guys here in fantasy. But is that the right choice? So we'll see. So another guy I want to kind of get into here a little bit. It kind of sucks talking about these guys here just by yourself because you're kind of expecting usually a back and forth banter here. But at least you kind of got my take on that. Another guy I want to bring up here, we got some news today about Miles Gaskins. So all of you that panicked and started avoiding Gaskins, it looks like Brian Flores did come out and finally say that he sees Gaskins as a 3 down back. He definitely outshined him. You can just kind of tell by the eye test, at least to me, in the preseason, that he was the guy that they should be giving the ball to, whether it's running or passing out of the backfield. We'll see if he can hold up. Obviously, injuries got to him, towards the end of last year. But he was definitely a guy you felt comfortable throwing him out there, especially in an RB2 role. So if you were able to pick him up as a RB3, or did end up taking that chance on him for an RB2, it looks like that will pay out. I'm sure Brown and Ahmed are going to get their touches, just like any backfield, especially with 17 games this year. But for the most part, it looks like you can fire up and start Gaskins every week. Does have some tough matchups, but again, um, not a bad RB2 to have. One other guy I want to talk about here, which kind of rolls me into also our league winners, is T.Y. Hilton. He had his surgery on his neck. He's on IR. He'll be out until at least week 4. We have Wentz coming back. Looks like he's going to be ready for week 1 as well. To me, I was really high on Michael Pittman Jr. heading into the season. I've actually kind of been pretty big on Wentz myself. Obviously, he got hurt and, kind of fell down the wayside. Now that he's coming back healthy, obviously, I wish they would have had that time to kind of build the rapport. But Michael Pittman Jr., man, keep an eye on him. If you were able to get him late, he could very well be a nice wide receiver too. Come in and pay huge value from where you drafted him. Could potentially turn into an every week starter. Um, Big frame, young guy. Don't have many options. He's now the number one with Hilton out. So keep your eye on him. If you got him, maybe you can target him in trades. I would say try to get him. You probably don't have to give up too much to get him. Again, unless it's too late and you have people listening to this podcast, then now they're going to know. So, otherwise, I really like him. Love Pittman. We'll see what he does. Definitely showed flashes last year. So that's that. Another couple guys, since we're kind of talking wide receivers anyway here. Um, Two other guys I have as kind of guys I see league winners. And just by league winners, I just mean really kind of outperform their draft picks. You can almost kind of call them a sleeper as well. But I think these are guys that you didn't necessarily going to draft as every week starters that could potentially be every week starters. So Pittman is my first guy. My second guy is going to be Marvin Jones. Just what we saw out of Trevor Lawrence in the preseason, his connection with Jones, obviously losing ETN. I think this, catapults the potential ceiling here for Marvin Jones. Obviously, he's dealing with that AC joint. So hopefully he's going to be back and healthy and good to go. But obviously, they're not a great team. They're going to be behind. The attempts are going to be there. So I think he has a chance to be, again, an every week wide receiver too. And I think you're getting Marvin Jones at least in the 11th, 12th, 13th round of drafts. I mean, he's probably kind of, peaked up here during draft time, of course, after the preseason showings. But for those of you guys who drafted well before preseason, I'm sure you're getting some great value with that Jones pick. Another guy that I have as far as a wide receiver is going to be, oh, hold on here. We have another question here from Ryan. Would you start Robert Woods or Miles Sanders in the flex? Let me know if that's a PPR. Actually, I could probably tell you I'm going to go with Robert Woods right out of the gate, especially for week one. We're still not sure exactly what we're going to see in that backfield out of Philly. Good question, but I would roll with Robert Woods, especially in a PPR. With Cam Akers going down, they're still not sure what's going on, in that backfield with the, running back by committees that they have going on there. I think I would go with Robert Woods there. So, and he's saying if full PPR, I would absolutely go Woods there. Loving that Stafford addition there to the Rams. And I hate to say that as a Niners fan. So, good question, Ryan. So yeah, so I think I was talking about my receivers for league winners, or a guy I like, at least maybe a sleeper if you want to call it that. I'm gonna go with Corey Davis. I think again the connection he's shown with Zach Wilson, just here in the preseason. Obviously, his ability to eat up targets in that offense. Again, kind of same kind of theory and basis as far as the Marvin Jones. They're kind of in similar situations, except for actually Davis is in a better situation just because there's really no other receiver there. Obviously, there's Elijah Moore, who we're going to, watch out for. But for the most part, it looks like Wilson is comfortable with Davis. And, Davis showed out last year with the Titans. So that's what earned him that payday. He thought he was going over there to play with Sam Darnold, which is huge. And, he was actually kind of upset that they ended up trading Darnold after that, if you guys remember. But he did come back and, you know, basically, come around to Zach Wilson, and looks like they found a good connection there. So I'm liking what I'm seeing there. I personally didn't get any shares of Corey Davis. He was going a little higher than, where I wanted him to go in my drafts, but he's definitely a guy. Um, and Season saying Elijah Moore being slept on, dude is a monster. And yeah, and that's what I was saying as well too. You know, Elijah Moore is going to come out. Obviously, he got hurt early, so we didn't really get to see him in preseason. So we'll see what happens. When they start the year. So definitely check on those guys, especially guys that are going to be in bad offenses. They're going to be in negative game script. you're going to want to grab those guys because there's going to be a lot of attempts there. Garbage time, it's still fantasy time too. So those are points, just as well. Um, he's saying his sleeper. Ryan saying his sleeper is Deontay Johnson. I love Deontay Johnson as well. Great pick, especially where he's going. He's definitely been creeping up. I think if you can get him as a wide receiver too, with two solid, running backs, then you have yourself a nice solid team there. So definitely like me some Deontay Johnson. I think I have a share of every Steelers wide receiver on each one of my teams. So I think I have Claypool, Juju, and Deontay on separate teams. So definitely want a piece of that passing attack there. Um, so yeah, so with that said, I'll just kind of get into running backs here. We'll try to make it a kind of quick episode. Unless you guys have any more questions here. For running backs, guys that I like that I think are going to kind of outperform their draft position and potentially win you your league. That you're going to just kind of think at the end of the year, I'm so glad I grabbed that guy. Um, Antonio Gibson. Not gonna lie, not gonna hide it. I've been beating this drum. I know there's some things in there, but when I look at his film from last year, the way that they were using him, considering he didn't get that even really get all of the touches last year. Um, they have a more solid quarterback now in Fitzmagic. I just think he has the potential to have a huge year this year. Fitzmagic will throw it there. They say they want to incorporate him in the passing game. They split him out wide. They put him in the slot. They run him out of the backfield. Those are the kind of things you like to see. Go back and watch his highlights. You'll see the different formations that they use him in. That's what gets me excited. When I'm doing my research on people, I like to see how they're using them. Another guy like that is going to be Rahim Moster. Obviously, we know the injury risk that he has. But again, if he can stay healthy, even at his age, and in this offense, I think he can has a chance to put up big time numbers. I think he has a chance to be on that RB1, RB2, high end RB2 borderline. I have him. If you got him as an RB3 in your draft, fantastic. I took him in a couple places as my RB2 just because I do feel comfortable with him. I think both Mostert and Trey Sermon can kind of produce in this offense. The Niners are just going to run it that many times, and I think they will be that effective and be able to move the ball that much. They're going to want to play control offense, especially with the defense that we have. I'll go ahead and say that. So I just think it's such a good, play to have. It is going to be a little bit of a committee. But again, everybody's going to have somewhat of a committee. We have that 17th game. Again, if he can stay healthy, I think he is a diamond in the rough. And I've been saying that since the beginning of the year as well. Even before we even started this whole podcast. So, um, let's see. Ryan saying, I believe Trey Sermon will take over the starting running back for San Fran and be a league winner, especially with the schedule the Niners have for the dynasty playoffs. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at too, Ryan, is that same thing. But again, if Mostert stays healthy, Sermon's not taking over this job, and Shanahan would want two nice running backs, and even keep an eye on Jeff Wilson when he comes back. Because again, if he goes down and it's Sermon, you're going to want Sermon, and then because he's going to come in and take that Mostert role, you're going to want to grab Jeff Wilson because he's going to come in and take that Sermon role. Again, I think they're both going to be able to produce. I think they have a chance to be able to put up, 80 and a touchdown, get you 4 or 5 catches a game, especially Mostert with his speed. Um, Again, not going to go too crazy here on the Niners, but I just think it's a nice pick if you're able to get him. And if you have him in a league and I'm with you, come trade him to me because I will pay you for him. My last running back I have here, and obviously there's more, but these are the 3 I kind of just wanted to talk about. Um, Chris Carson. We all know what type of offense that Pete Carroll wants to run up there. Will they let Russ cook? Will they not let Russ cook? That is the question. I think if they are successful, they're going to still need a good running game. Chris Carson has that ability to do that. Again, if he can stay healthy, he could be a nice, winner for you, a league winner. I just see it. I see high end RB2 potential there. He's being drafted kind of that way. I think he has potential to, finish top 10 at that back half. Obviously, some things would need to go wrong up top. But I think he has a sneaky chance of getting in there with just the amount of attempts and efficiency that he has. So keep an eye on Carson. Just some honorable mentions. Not going to go into too much detail, just because. I mean, I don't think quarterbacks or tight ends necessarily, are considered league winners per se. I mean, obviously, Darren Waller coming out of nowhere last year was on a lot of winning rosters. But as far as tight ends go, a guy that I've just seen fall to me is Gasecki. I don't know why he keeps falling. For some reason, I don't understand it. We just need to find out. I mean, even in the preseason, he had one of the bigger plays in the preseason, Tua to Gasecki. I think he's a safety blanket there, especially with kind of the injuries they have. No Will Fuller week one. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Um, heading in there. Gasecki's falling in drafts. If you miss out on one of those top three, come down and get him. I also think Goddard might, uh, be a nice pickup late as far as the tight end goes. We've seen Higby just kind of really soar out of nowhere lately. Everyone's really, really big on him now. We had been big on him a long time ago, but he wasn't even getting drafted actually with us before. And all of a sudden now he's flying up there. But I think a sneaky little pick there could be Goddard, especially with the news about Ertz saying he wants to retire and the Eagle and all that. I still think Goddard is going to outproduce him. He's going to get open on those routes. I think Jalen's going to look for him. And they, again, had a lot of big plays in the preseason. So I think that could carry on into the regular season. So keep an eye on those two guys. As far as quarterbacks, just again, I mentioned him earlier, Carson Wentz and a super flex. If you can get him as your QB2 or QB3, I'm happy with that. And then also Jameis Winston. I kind of like him before you get into that Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, David Carr uh, type range. And, I just think he definitely has a chance to produce. Callaway looks really nice when they get Traquan back. If they get Mike Thomas back, we'll see. But he always has Kamara to dump off there. They're just preaching that in him. Don't take chances. If you need to, just dump to Kamara. It's built into the offense. I think he'll play along with that. He wants success. They have a good defense. So we'll see what kind of noise Winston can make over there. So that's definitely, an offense that I'm watching week one. Um, so that's that. So those are kind of my league winners. I know that was kind of quick again. I wanted to have some kind of back and forth debate there with the guys as we went over that. But I'm sure you guys, at least got my take on that and can kind of go from there with it. Now I want to start to get into what we're going to start doing here is taking some Q&As from our sleeper community. So, as you know, we have our sleeper thread. We're talking about things all day. Guys are posting different trades, different questions. What should I do here? What do you think about this? So we're going to start kind of bringing some of those, out to the show to let everybody kind of hear about them, and we can discuss them here on the show. So these ones we're only going to obviously get my take again. I hate to keep beating that in there, so I'll try not to. But the first question here that I want to bring up are actually, yeah, season. Yeah, we're getting into that, man. Um, so yeah, we're getting into the questions right now, buddy. So Calbeck, his first question that he threw out there, shout out to Ethan. Just drew the 2 spot in my college league and I feel yucky. I want to debate someone on Cook and see if maybe I need to rethink my logic. I don't see how he's worth the pick. So is Dalvin Cook worth the number 2 pick? So Ethan likes to bring his good takes on here, and I respect it. He's not afraid to speak his mind. So I definitely came out and told him that I would bite. I love getting into a debate about something, especially when you can get good takes out of something like this. Kind of when you get the herd mentality, everybody just starts going, oh, Dalvin Cook's number 2. But a lot, kind of what I told him is, in all reality, and for a long time, actually, I had Derrick Henry as my number 2, even in PPR. And the reason being is just, again, he doesn't have the injury history. I feel like he's gonna give you all 17 games. I feel like the coaching staff doesn't have any problem giving him the ball 30 times a game, and I think he can hold up getting the ball 30 times a game, if he really needed to. I think if they work him into the, passing offense, which it looks like they're doing, to me, he has that nice potential to be the guy that said, "Why didn't we take him number 2, um, instead of somebody else?" So, um, obviously, the guys we're talking about there are the kind of the big 4, Cook, Kamara, or Henry. In which order do you take them? Obviously, all 3 of those guys, we last year, the reason why Dalvin Cook was such a league winner last year is because he kind of came out of nowhere because no one wanted to draft him, because of his injury history. All of a sudden, he's worth the number 2 pick because everybody kind of forgets about that. He did get banged up for a couple games last year. Obviously, when he was healthy, he still did produce. Um, I've taken him number 2 overall. But again, just to play devil's advocate against Ethan, I had to throw my Henry take out there for number 2. And I just think there's, too many question marks again on the Camaro role, how much they're willing to give him. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So good question. We had, good conversation about that. But pretty much everyone was kind of like, you know, Cook's pretty much the consensus number 2. Season here says, wouldn't you take Zeke over Henry in PPR if you want that safety blanket? Gets a ton of targets, never gets hurt, and is an explosive offense. No. As a Zeke owner last year, we've seen what his floor is. It's awful. Obviously, that was without Dak. But again, they're already missing Zach Martin here this year. They do kind of have a tough little schedule. But for the most part, um, I kind of just like Henry there again in a PPR. You can argue that. But for me, it's just like I'd rather give up a little bit of that ceiling just to have that floor with Henry, pretty much every game. So I don't feel like he's potentially an injury away. Um, he just feels so solid to me to just roll out there and set it and forget it, matchup proof, every week. And he's good for a 3 touchdown game, sometime, throughout the year. So, um, is what it is. Um, let's see. Them boys, RB10 is an awful floor. No, and I'm just talking about with the games without him. So without Dak, I had him last year. I traded for him. I still thought it was ridiculous. But again, he didn't really produce last year, but he had no line. They had no threats. Cooper was in and out. Obviously, CD wasn't CD quite yet. Um, Again, it was a different year last year. Maybe you can argue that this year, but for the most part, I have my top 4. I'm not sure exactly where I have Zeke, but I have him a little later. But I do still have him in my top 10. So that's that. Let's see. Next question we have is from Seven Rings. He said, dart throw in half PPR. Do I go with Gallman, Stevenson, or Tyson Williams? So basically, kind of what order do we have those 3 guys in a half PPR? I would pretty much go Tyson Williams, Gallman, and then Stevenson. Um, my thought process behind that is obviously with the new injury to Justice Hill, there's just going to be opportunities in that backfield, let alone if Gus Edwards get hurt. Then he has a huge opportunity there in that offense. Again, it is still early in the year. So getting somebody like that, he may not have the overall talent. But again, when you're getting that type of volume, it's um, hard to argue that. Then you have Gallman, obviously going over to Kansas City, has potential in that offense, being the passing kind of down back, even though every back there is basically a passing down back. But I kind of have him, second there. And then I would go Ramondre Stevenson. I just feel comfortable with Damian Harris there as the RB1. I think James White has his role there as that passing down back and that 2 minute guy. They'll even put him and Harris on the field at the same time. So again, I just think again, unless there's an injury to Harris, um, Stevenson's just going to kind of be there. He may come in and vulture a touchdown here or there, but for the most part, I think again, why we want to touch that New England backfield for the most part. So anyway, um, and Season is saying they worked out Bell and Freeman today. Does that worry me about Tyson? No, not really. We kind of talked about that in the beginning of the show. Um, you know, I just don't think those guys really. Again, we saw what happened with Le'Veon Bell. We were scared that he was going to come in and take a lot of role from CH, but really he was just kind of there as a backup, as a mentor at this point. Of course, he'll probably get his touches here or there, just to take a little bit off of him. But again, I don't think he's going to come in and have a huge role in the offense, whether it be Bell or Gurley or um, Devonta Foreman or Freeman or whoever it was. So neither one of those guys. I think it's pretty much the Gus Edwards show. If you got him, you scratched in your lotto ticket. Good for you. And I think Tyson Williams is definitely a nice two to have. And we'll see kind of what his role is as the season unfolds. If he has any standalone value instead of just being Gus's handcuff. So we'll see. So we're gonna kind of wrap it up here. We're gonna get to this question that season's been waiting for here. So he asks, he has a trade question. It's a super flex half PPR redraft league. He has a trade offer. The guy's offering him Big Ben, Nick Chubb, and Justin Fields, and he's would have to give up Josh Allen, Chase Claypool, and Michael Carter. So as I was telling Season, pretty much would probably go ahead and hit that accept button on this trade. Especially in a super flex, if you can turn Josh Allen into Big Ben and Justin Fields and get Nick Chubb out of it, I think it's worth it. Just because you are getting those two quarterbacks and a top running back for that. I know you said your running backs would then be Zeke, Gibson, and Chubb. So I think that's fantastic. And then your QBs obviously do take a hit because you are giving up Josh Allen, but you do still have Big Ben, Derek Carr, and Fields as well as Lance. So now you have four quarterbacks. Obviously, I'd like to try to maybe pair up a Lance or a Fields with Carr or Big Ben. Probably preferably Carr, just me personally. But I'd like to pair one of those guys up and maybe get, another top 10 guy like a Stafford or a Tannehill and get another piece, maybe another receiver or something else like that, from one guy, or doing a three-way trade to maybe doing something like that, or just trading one of those quarterbacks straight up for a top, receiver if you can. So you definitely have some options there. I'm typically against kind of giving up the best player. Usually I'm always trying to get the better player in the draft. But if you can, again, split that into two quarterbacks and a top running back and have that type of depth and those type of assets, I would go ahead and make that trade. I know I sent that to Dustin. He said smash the accept button right away. And didn't get to talk to Frank about it, but I'm sure he'd probably say go ahead and do that as well. I did tell you just caution when giving away Josh Allen. He did look really, really, really good in the preseason. But again, you're getting 2-for-1 there. So, it's kind of tough to, kind of decide which way you want to go. But again, I would go ahead and accept that trade. So good luck, man. Let us know what you do. Let's see. Deluxe Crane plays David Montgomery and Mark Andrews for Adam Thielen and George Kittle. My thoughts on that. Man, that's tough. So, Demont and Mark Andrews for Thielen and George Kittle. I would have to kind of know the construction of the team to really get a better understanding, but in a vacuum, I would probably stick with the David Montgomery and Mark Andrews side. Again, Thielen was really touchdown dependent last year. Um, you know, just does he have some regression there? I think so. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's going to get a little more look. I don't think the upgrade between Kittle and Mark Andrews is that significant. Plus, I'd rather have the running back over the wide receiver anyway, just because wide receiver is decent. I like David Montgomery. He's probably where I draw the line as far as if I went like kind of a zero RB or wide receiver early. If I got him as my running back one, I wouldn't probably hate my team too bad. So I kind of do like Montgomery. Um, so yeah, I would definitely go the Montgomery and Andrews side with that. So everybody else, let us know what you think on that. But appreciate you for asking that question. And welcome. Check out the description. Join the community if you haven't already. And definitely come be part of our community. So big shout out to you there. Let's see. Season says, yeah, I seen that preseason game. Josh might get MVP. Thanks for the input and definitely feel better about it now. So yeah, so again, is what it is, man. He definitely looks like he could be, MVP, be right up there. He did look good, but again, it was one drive. It was scripted. I don't think he was playing against all the starters and all that. Again, it is just preseason, but whew, he looked sharp. I'll tell you that. Let's see here. Says I have six starting running backs: Zeke, Mixon, Demont, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, James Robinson, and Rahim Moster. So, given that, if you're trying to upgrade for Kittle and Demont, I don't really. I would try to. I mean, if you're going to give up Mark Andrews and David Montgomery, I would shoot for a better wide receiver. Um, That's my only thing. Uh, I mean, yeah, there's gonna be, potential point difference there between Kittle and Andrews. But again, I don't think it's significant enough, as is the difference between Montgomery and Thielen. Again, you do have some great running backs, so I could see why. And again, not all trades are created equal. Sometimes the best deal you can get is the only deal you really have available to you. So maybe if you are hurting at wide receiver there, maybe you do want to take that shot and get Thielen. So he said, how about if you switch Montgomery for absolutely? So if you're going to do something like that, then I would say yes, because then you are getting Kittle and you're keeping Montgomery. I'm not that big on Miles Sanders. I don't know how they're going to quite use him there in Philly this year. I'd feel a lot more comfortable giving that up. And yeah, that definitely would tilt it, a little more in that favor. Um, Again, I would still see if you could get a better, wide receiver if you're giving up a running back, that's going to get those, that volume regardless. Um, but again, if that's the kind of the only offer that you have out there, especially getting that upgrade, with Kittle does kind of make it, a little better if you are looking to turn one of those running backs into a decent receiver. So definitely changes my mind a little bit on that. And yeah, I would say out of all those guys, honestly, personally, I would trade Josh Jacobs. Actually, he's the one I don't know if you're new to the show, if you go back and watch our other videos, you'll know that I'm not, that big on Josh Jacobs this year. But again, with that depth, you're fine. So I would definitely say Miles Sanders would be the guy that I would get rid of there. So thanks for the question, man. Really appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you like what you're seeing. We appreciate the support. Hit that notification bell, I think it is there. And we'll be definitely doing these start sit questions and who should I start and all this stuff as we start going here. So he said, this guy isn't stupid though. He wouldn't do it for Jacobs. All right. Good call. Good call. He said it's a competitive league. All right, good call then. So again, at least we're thinking the same. At least you know where the line is drawn. So yeah, I think if you can get away with it with Sanders instead of Demont, I would pull the trigger for Sanders. I would hold back for Demont. I think you could do better. Even if you traded Demont and Sanders for, some other running back and a better wide receiver, I would like that. So maybe check something like that out, especially competitive league. If they can get two running backs like that and give up a receiver if they need that depth, go look for that. All right, appreciate it, man. That's really really appreciate the interaction, guys, on that. Um, so otherwise, it's pretty much what I got for you guys today here, man. Let's see. Said hopefully Gibson doesn't turn into Jacobs from last year. Love the talent though, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, man. And I know I'm big on Gibson this year. So again, if he busts, man, I'm gonna be right there with you because I have a lot of shares of him as well. Really like Gibson this year. If he tanks, it's definitely gonna be a big a big hurt to me. So I'll be right there with you. So anyway, appreciate you guys for those of you who stuck it out through the show with me here. Really appreciate it. Good to be back and talk some football again. With everything going on, for those of you guys who know, um, have a lot of drafts, going on. I know there's still a couple more days left before we get into the first game of the season, man. Thursday, we have Tampa Bay versus Dallas. We will be doing a preview on that show on our Wednesday show. We will preview that game, let you know our thoughts about, those players, who we're starting, who we might be sitting in that matchup. All things considered, I know there are some questions flying around on do we start Dak? Do we not start Dak? So definitely stay tuned for that. If you have your questions and you want to have them answered here on the show, have us break them down. Make sure you check the description, join the sleeper community, get in there, request an invite. We'll get you in and post it there. Our community is going to help you out. Us analysts here at Get Right will help you out, and we'll get you right here for the start of the season, man. Help you guys bring home this championship. So without any further ado, I guess I'll go ahead and start to end this show. Really appreciate you guys. Dim Boys season, deluxe praying plays. Apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Ryan Garula, really appreciate you guys coming out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Help us get to 200 here before the start of the season. I know we can do it, or at least after the first couple weeks. Let's get up there. Let us know what you guys want. We'll come back at you here on Wednesday, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern. If you can't catch us live, check us out in the morning. Otherwise, we can go ahead and roll those sleeves down now. And basically, it's Rasta out.